I didn't change the thing! I didn't change the thing! No! Ugh. Ugh, 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 ugh. Done. Come on, let me remember how to do this. There we go. Okay. That's good. All right. I think let us just begin. Sorry, I just sound very strange to myself right now because I'm not wearing any headphones because I didn't charge my headphones, so that's gonna charge, so it'll come later, I hope. Anyway, let me close this off. Here. Yep. Okay, let's continue. Oh, okay, so this is continuing from last night, I guess? Okay, makes sense. I went home and washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Normally, I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things. But that didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally, I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the same time, however, it made me realize how much Satoko must be suffering. At the very moment I was appreciating this gentle kindness, Satoko might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. Then facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Satoko. We thought that if we just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved. With what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Satoko was obstinate. She would stubbornly deny the abuse and try to endure it. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who had protected her before and then run away. As long as she thought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satoko was in danger, then I would do what I had to. In the end, that meant just going to wait and see, too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd drawn a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it. Over the phone. Given Satoko's personality, she might criticize me if she found out. But I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Keiichi Maibara. Would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Say that I reported it to a public agency, like the Child Consolation Center. What if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year they decided to do just that, and the situation improved temporarily. Then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year was her uncle. I had seen him for the first time today, but the man seemed more direct, more violent than the word underhanded could imply. He wasn't like their aunt, no, not that subtle. He was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discerned from the bruises I saw on Satoko's body. Shit. You're too naive, Keiichi Maibara. However heroic it may seem to report what was happening, if it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things to a public agency was only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We'd need something more to guarantee Satoko's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking, then tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of arguing with my friends today came to mind. The memories of angry arguing. I was embarrassed that I hadn't realized it until Rena said something. He was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw-thatched roof in Hiramizawa, it was really big. We did actually have empty rooms. I never thought that we were affluent, but also never thought that we were poor. I just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family really is wealthy. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. The guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job come in and stay in every once in a while. Plus, if we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad used for storage, they could work for her as well. As for food expenses, that might have been a more serious problem than a kid like me can imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little bit for lunch, and then a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone pecking at everyone else's food anyway, it would be manageable. Breakfast and dinner, though, that would have to be up to Mom. I would need to convince her to lend Satoko more than just a room. Of course, I don't even think convincing her of that would be easy. And how much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? They couldn't complain if I shouldered that, could they? I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more thanks to New Year's gifts and such, but my parents had taken all that and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot of money. And if I got that far, I should ask Mion and Rena to share some of the burden. Of course, I wouldn't depend on that. Rena got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't shove responsibility onto others. I have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I'd follow through on it. Oh, but it wouldn't only be food expenses. There were a lot of other things that you couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mother was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies, and for once, that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Satoko would use for her own clothes. Couldn't only think, okay, but listen. In this case, right, I feel that I think, right, that you go to your parents, right? Like let's assume that, like, okay, we're assuming that they're wealthy, right? Keiichi's like, they have the biggest house, so they have money. That's the first thing. Second thing, I'm pretty sure if you go and explain the situation to them, any parent would like be happy to take someone in, you know? Like if it's only temporary, which they know it is, like if Keiichi explains the situation, I think it could be helped, you know? I couldn't think only about food expenses. I need more money. Hey, wait, Keiichi Maebara, since when was this all about money? Even if you could afford it, you would need your parents' permission first. They'd be looking at a young girl after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Just calm down a little bit, Keiichi Maebara, and you realize right away that you can't. Even if you ask them seriously, they would tell you to call the police. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Maebara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? That's what would happen. That was it. It was very sad and frustrating. But no matter how much I wanted to help, my resolution alone couldn't save anything.
そんなにも子供って無力なのかよ。
I felt frustrated. I believe my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought they were stronger than Coach's. And yet, at this point, there were 2 knocks on my door and Mom poked her head inside.
起きてたの？さっきからご飯ってずっと呼んでるわよ。
あ、うん。今行く。
I wonder if he will tell them. As someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around there doing nothing, and food suddenly appeared. It felt so natural to me that I shamefully thought of it as a responsibility of the parent who gave birth to me. When I realized that that natural thing was actually a right, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant that privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for 3 on the table right now. For Dad, for Mom, and for me. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another place at the table. Think, Keiichi Maebara. Hello, Daineo. It was hard to make food for 4, then think about how 4 people could eat food made for 3. How are you doing? Oh. I changed around the way I thought, and with that I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. She should just live here and see Keiichi. How does he convince himself of the stupidest things? Like, instead of... he's just like, he convinced himself that his parents... Like, instead of asking his parents, he thinks it's a better idea to have her live in secret. Oh my gosh, man. How was your day, Dainea? Did you read more Umineko? Please don't tell me this is what he goes with. I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remembered right, if you climbed out the window and then shimmied down the first floor roof or gutter, you could go in and out of the house directly from my room. Nope, you haven't moved yet. Okay. So, has the day been decided? Because you were saying soon, so I was assuming that in the next few days. But, like, when are you, like, do you know the exact day, or is it still, like, soon? Like, the day's not decided? Nope. Damn. They're really holding out on you. Satsuko's physical ability far surpassed my own, so it'd be even easier for her. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. I'd only have to bring Satsuko to my house when the public agency said they would wait and see. In other words, if Satsuko's uncle continued to be her guardian, if, in such a situation, word got out she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satsuko back with him. Her uncle was her rightful guardian, so my parents would hand her over without an argument, no doubt. So I needed to keep it a secret that she was living here. If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents' help would mean a lot, but you gotta deceive your... Keiichi, I really want to strangle... I think he has gone back to being my least favorite character. Like, Coach has risen in ranks after that entire interaction with Satoko. And then Keiichi has remained the same. Okay. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, so I'll search for a way to have her live here in secret. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the second floor. The issue was the daytime. If she was hiding from her uncle, then she shouldn't go to school. It might be lonely, but not going would be the better option. I could easily teach Satsuko the stuff she learns in her grade. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study on my own stuff. During the day, I would need to go to school, so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I was at this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around my room while I was gone. I think. If she holed herself up in my room, it would be okay, right? My parents did come, thanks to where the second floor was. She could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs. And there would be a little bit of time before they got all the way up. I estimated a few seconds. That she'd be able to hide herself in the closet. Like, why are we going through all of this, Keiichi? Like, what's the point of this? It's not gonna work, you know this. Wait, Keiichi, something doesn't make sense. If she can't go to school, then what does she do for lunch? Calm down already. I could just leave her my own lunch, couldn't I? I should just go to school without lunch and get everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, that's good. No more contradictions or oversights, right? Oh, breakfast and dinner. I could somehow get her to go without breakfast. I can go with 2 meals a day while I sleep on Sundays, after all. Every night, I pretend as though I had a bigger appetite than ask for a bigger helping. Then I could just somehow give part of that to Satoko. As a test, I sat up from my seat with a plate of fish in my hands.
どうしたのケイチ。ご飯は座ってか。
ちょっと気分が自分の部屋で食べても。
ボロボロ音。食事は食卓。
ごめん。
Hey, wait. I only tried to take away one plate of fish and they ganged up on me? In reality, it was impossible for me to smuggle food away without my parents knowing about it. But it must have been worth taking the time to think about it. What do we have here as the joke for today? Did Surplus go to sleep, Diane? Okay. Right here. I think he's playing Fortnite with Rissa. Oh, okay, nice. That's cool. What do you call a cat that sucks on lemons? A sourpuss. Okay. It's so funny! It's so funny! I don't think there's a funnier thing ever in the history of humankind. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I went back there and tried to think about it from Satoko's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs right now. I've gotta hide. Open the closet. Clatter, clatter. It didn't open quietly. Hey, wait, didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why was it suddenly doing this now? Was this house even structurally safe? Was it already showing signs of dilapidation? Or were the hinges just not greased well enough? Could I apply some lubricating wax? The sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening while they climbed the stairs. If this was an easy problem, I could do something about it. I just had to fix it up a little bit so it didn't make any noise anymore. For now, I'll close myself in the closet as though I'd successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. I couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go in my closet. Even so, there still might be some reason they would. I guess this is what you mean, Diana, when you say, like, the pacing of Higurashi can be a bit slow. Because it's like, what's the point of all this? Like, really, what's the point of all of this? Because he's not doing this. Like, this is crazy. But the more she worried about that, the less time she'd have to actually hide. Meaning it would be more likely they hear a noise. Then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. The bathroom? The need to use the toilet, so obvious and yet such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom was on the first floor. Really? Okay. For a big house like that, there's only one bathroom? Okay. So every time when someone wakes up in the middle of the night, they have to go downstairs to use the bathroom. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing. Like, it's fine if that was like a smaller house, let's say, right? Like, let's say it was a small apartment that maybe had 2 floors, right? But a bathroom? This is what I'm showing you. Actually, bad pacing is having unnecessary context. But that's what I mean. It feels a bit much. It feels like this is too much context. Like, we don't need to go through every single bit of dialogue. He could have easily just said like, he could have said like half the amount of stuff and it would portray the same amount. I mean, still, like, that, then it even applies more here. I feel like this is completely unnecessary. Might need to set up a portable toilet, like a chamber pot, I guess. So she could go in my room. But the stench would be pretty terrible. Anyone sensitive would probably notice the smell without even... What are you saying, Keiichi? This is ridiculous. The bath was okay, though. She could just take a bath when my parents were out. But I couldn't do anything about a toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, if my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I noticed I'd been clawing my head with both hands. That was a normal thought. No! Setting up a portable toilet is not a normal thought. That is not, like... If I... Let's put myself in the situation, like a portable toilet is out of the question entirely. I'm not setting up a... Like, that is... There is no way someone would move for this It's what he'd have to do. I really don't think... Like, that's what I'm saying. This just all makes no sense. This is so... Like, I'm just thinking, if I had to shelter, right? Like, even if I theorize, right, by the way, like, he should definitely be telling his parents, like, this should never be the case, but let's assume that he has to hide her, right? This is not working. She's gonna be found out immediately. The portable toilet just doesn't make sense. Like, it's just, and she definitely would not want to use it. It doesn't matter how bad of a situation she's in. I don't think she would want to do that. I buried my face in them and tore my hair. But that's what I mean. We don't need this. There's just so much that he talks about here that's just not needed. The more I thought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I thought, the more things failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in a cramped place for so long. But if I was to shelter Satoko, I would need to force her to feel this pain. To live in such a dark, narrow, suffocating place forever. But it would still be better than being abused by her uncle, or so I wanted to think. It got hard to breathe, so I gave in and crawled out of the closet. I looked at the clock, and to my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. It felt like so little time, but it was unbelievably long. When I realized that, I was slammed with a terrible urge to sleep, as if the time had only just caught up with me. I didn't have enough strength to fight it, and I fell flat onto my futon. Shit, I can't just go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, that means taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. I need to keep worrying about how to rescue Satsuko for a minute, or even a second longer, than everyone else. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? That one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around in a spiral, and steadily took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought, there was a lot of blind spots in what I considered tonight, but I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. Tomorrow I would suggest this bold plan to the others. Mion might be able to help somehow, and Deno is really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. And above all, we need to rescue Satsuko once again with everyone helping out. I felt pathetic, letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Satsuko. Okay. So finally he goes to sleep. So there has to be a reason why we started in the night. Getting my headphones. I assume there's going to be dialogue now. The ceiling blurred into view. It was hot. There was a thin layer of moist sweat on me. The voices of the cicadas permeating my room was somehow grating to my head. I'd never asked Dianera, how did Surplus and Rissa become friends? You know, like how did that end up happening? Like, did you introduce Rissa to Surplus or what? I mean, obviously you did, but how did that end up happening? The voices of the cicadas permeating my room were somehow grating to my head.
で、今日、日曜日じゃないよな。
I remember today was a weekday and quickly brought myself to consciousness. Then finally, I leaped out of bed. The clock read a little before 10. I was totally late. When I wandered downstairs, my mom would get mad at me. There was nothing I could do, though. After reviewing the schedule for the school day, for a moment, I suitably rearranged the stuff in my bag. I hurried and got dressed and went down the stairs. I think she got... Okay. She got into video games and I said I know a friend who plays Fortnite. I think that's it. Okay, that's cool. There was no sign of my parents anywhere. Maybe they went out somewhere together. So that's how it was. My mother had probably woken me up once this morning, but then I fell back asleep without remembering it. My parents, thinking I'd gone to school, left. Something like that probably happened. A character got introduced in episode 2 and she's so dumb. Are you saying that as she's now one of your favorite characters, or it's just like you hate her? I went to the front door and, as I expected, it was locked. Looked like I was right. It was further evidence of my speculation being correct. When I realized my parents weren't here, I suddenly felt less like I had to rush to get to school. Not hating her, she's just actually stupid. Okay. There's one portion of breakfast left in the dining room. Probably mine. The milk they'd poured in had gone warm since a while ago. When I realized how hard it would be to sneak food for Satsuko, yesterday I'd cried. Well, thinking back on it, food wasn't the only issue in that regard. I wasn't in a position where I could care for Satsuko by myself anyway. It's such a heavy thing to save a single person. I've seen this on TV and comics all the time. Those feel-good words about how you'll save your friends for sure, and such. When you say she's stupid, what do you mean? Like, she is brain dead, or it's like, kinda? Okay. Or is it just like, like, does she purposely go out and do stupid things? Or is it like she's a klutz? Or like, what is her stupidity like? Because there are different, like, variations of the stupid things, you know? Like, what is that like? That's why I ran my mouth like that, swearing to save her because I wanted to feel good about it? No, that absolutely wasn't true. Because the fact that I couldn't save her. Because I didn't want to think like an adult. Like, I couldn't do anything but watch. Has Satsuko gone to school today? I immediately realized that was a meaningless question. Whether or not she did, there wouldn't be a change in the environment she'd been placed in. If I couldn't save her, and no one else could either, then we could only pray for a miracle.
俺たちは無力か。
With the vague goal of getting to school in mind, I sluggishly put on my shoes and stumbled out the front door. Don't worry about it. You can't say don't worry about it for every single question I ask about Umineko. I'd only overslept by 2 or 3 hours, but the sunlight and air felt completely different from how they usually were in the morning. Well, of course they did. Once 10 o'clock came around, you can barely call it morning anymore. Yeah, haha. Yeah, I totally don't get up after that. I didn't feel like walking the same old route to school. I needed to ultimately end up there, but it was like I didn't want to choose the shortest route, the most proactive one to get to school. Put it in a more positive light. Maybe I wanted some time to walk by myself and think. Sure, I can. Yes, but I'm not going to be very happy about it. I had to go to school. Probably to make sure Satoko was safe. But I hadn't come up with any plans yet. Nothing since last night. So the path I took from my house was in the complete opposite direction. If I went this way, I'd pass Rena's house and the dam site. It would be quite a detour. I calculated how long of a detour it would end up being. Then, satisfied with the answer, I started to walk. Rena had brought me to the dam site a few times. One section of it had turned into an unlawful, oversized garbage dump, and Rena really liked going fishing for junk in there. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl. An episode being 20 hours of deviation? Wait, what are you talking about? Without that, she'd... Oh, one section of it had turned into an awful... You just read mid-tangent and act like you don't know. I'm very confused. A character got introduced in episode 2. Many characters because them are really when. Yeah, an episode of being 20 hours. I just don't understand what you said there about the episode being 20 hours of deviation. Like, what is that in reference to? One section of it had turned into an unlawful, oversized garbage dump, and then I really like going fishing for junk in there. Oh, okay. For when they show up. I see, okay. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl, too. I can think of a few other qualities she could go without, but whatever. But me asking about the personality doesn't spoil anything. I'm not even asking about the personality. I'm asking in what, you said that she's stupid, so I'm asking in what way she's stupid. I don't think that's more of a spoiler than what you said. The view quickly opened up wide, and I was hit by a strong wind. There was no shelter here at this big dam site. Maybe it was a good thing I came here, I thought. At the very least, it was more healthy to think about stuff in a place like this instead of my cramped bedroom. I took a deep breath and filled my lungs with the rich, cold air unique to Hinamizawa. Ring, ring. I turned around reflexively. It was a bicycle bell. Considering where I was standing, I don't think they were trying to get me out of the way. They rang the bell because they wanted something from me.
Yeah,
Oh, here he is. So we meet him in the same place as first chapter.
君、Hinamizawaの人だよね。そうですけど。
I've seen this person around a few times. Right, I remembered. His name, I think it was Tomitake, a freelance photographer who lived in Tokyo. Who would zealously visit Hinamizawa every season to take pictures. Or so Mion and the others told me. I think.
古出神社ってここからどう行けばいいか教えてもらえないかい？マップを宿に置いてきちゃったみたいでね。困ってたんだよ。
ここから神社ですか？
I knew where everything was in my head, but explaining how to get there was difficult. Okay, I mean, it's your discretion, Diner. I was a little irritated having been bothered for this, but when I realized it meant my detour actually meant something, that feeling faded quickly.
教えてもいいですけど、ちょっと口で説明するのは難しいですよ。一緒でよければ連れて行ってあげますけど。
え？それはかたじけないね。助かるよ。あ、でもいいのかい？君の用事は。
Tomitake-san finally appeared to have realized how strange it was for a student like me to be here at this time of day. I smoothly told him not to worry about it, then turned my back and started walking towards the Furude shrine. Tomitake-san hurried to turn his bike around and came after me.
ごめんごめん。
10 IQ.
男には組織を離れて一匹狼になりたい時もあるんだからね。
Dude, what are you saying, Tomitake? What a free-minded freelancer. It was easier for me too that he was under that
僕
impression.
は富武、フリーカメラマンさ。
Look, why does Tomitake just do this sometimes where his voice just changes randomly? Like they get a different voice
専
actor.
門は野鳥と風景。まだまだ無名だけどね。
It seemed absurd for him to introduce himself when I was just showing him to the shrine, but he gave me his name, so I needed to give him mine back.
前原圭一です。まあよろしく。
圭一くんかい。よろしくね。
He seemed like a pretty silly man, but that felt kind of good considering I'd been suffocating with worry over Satsuko all night. Along the way, Tomitake-san spoke at length to me about how precious the nature in Hinamizawa was and how it was a treasure trove of rare wild birds, despite my not having asked. I was interested in what he had to say, but he seemed to be enjoying himself, so I left him to it.
この石段を上がれば。
You
神社の
both
境内です
share that. No. Whatever. It's literally not comparable because Keiichi's IQ is lower than everyone. Like, it doesn't... You can't even... Like, if you say, like, oh, you're 10 IQ, then Keiichi's 9 IQ. Like, it's just Keiichi is less than everyone.
ありがとう。助かったよ。
Like, I'm sorry. You cannot convince me otherwise.
ああ、ちょっと遅刻しちゃったかな。
As Tomitake-san mumbled to himself, he left his bicycle nearby and started to climb the stairs quickly. I didn't have a watch, but as far as my internal clock could guess, it was still a little late in the morning. School wasn't very far from here. Maybe I could kill a little more time until then. With that in mind, I went up the stairs in pursuit of Tomitake-san. Tomitake is my uncle. I thought he was your husband. One of your many husbands. When I reached the top of the long staircase, I arrived at the wooden, wide-open shrine grounds that were too grand-looking for this tiny village. Tomitake-san, oh, there he is. I have no husbands, they're all gone? Why? They all left you because you were cheating on all of them? You were like 5-timing them? It looked like he was supposed to be meeting someone here, and he got lost and ended up being late. He was bowing to a lady who must have been the person he was meeting. That lady. I knew her.
あら、前原くんじゃない。
Yeah, okay. See? I told you. But you didn't listen to me. I told you it was gonna happen.
こんにちは。今日は学校はお休みかしら？
あれなんだ、ケイイチ君ついてきたのかい？
別にそんなつもりはないですよ。ただ、ちょっと時間潰しがしたかっただけです。
あらあら、重役出勤とは優雅なものね。さすがは
What
有
are
名
you
人。
talking about?
今から大物ぶりを発揮してること。
What was I, a celebrity? Well, she just said my name out of nowhere anyway. I was oddly concerned about what she meant by famous.
あら、私の名前はまだ思い出せない？
高野美代さんだよ。村の診療所に勤めてる。
When did we see her?
ケイイチ君は健康そうだから、あまり病院のお世話にはならないかな。
Why is she laughing like that?
せっかくお知り合いになれたんだから、今度病気か何かできたら、ちょっぴりだけサービスしてあげようかしらね。
Takano, Keiichi's a minor. This lady named Takano-san, I kind of didn't remember her. Maybe we passed each other on the street a few times, but I'm pretty sure this was the first time we talked. Well, this is Hinamizawa. Even if I don't know a person's name, it's not unusual for them to know mine. I glanced at Takano-san and saw she had a bag and a camera.
ひょっとして、二人とも写真仲間ですか？あ、それで待ち合わせを。
So when is Watanagashi?
仲間でなんてとんでもない。素人の私に、二郎さんが優しくてほどきをしてくださるだけなのよ。ねえ。
Wait, so Diane, I just realized Diane there. I feel like I might have asked this before. You were saying that Tomitake was attractive. When he was this version of Tomitake? Yeah, damn.
そんなことないよ。高野さんは飲み込みが早いからね。僕の指導なんかなくても、実に自由に撮影をこなすよ。
There's hardly any actual options anyway. Fair, fair. I mean, it could be Oishi-san.
本当さ。
Also Chie. Oh yeah, Chie with the teacher. That's true, yeah. Mion's mom. Oh yeah, I remember you were talking about Mion's mom. Couldn't tell which one of them was ahead in the conversation. Well, there was certainly one couple you wouldn't get tired of watching.
いよいよあさってが綿流しね。今年はいい写真が撮れるといいんだけど。
明日の設営シーンからレンズに収めるつも
Oh,
りだよ。
tomorrow? No, day after tomorrow. Okay.
そういう準備風景からもお祭りの活力を捉えたいんだ。
She shows up, but like that's a minus. Yeah, well, I mean, you can assume that she shows up. They've alluded to her multiple times. I'm assuming a lot of characters they've alluded to will probably show up at some point, unless they're like even the dead characters. Genuinely, like unless they like don't if they mention a character by name, I'm assuming that they're showing up at some point. Other than yeah. Because for like the people who like were murdered or demoned away, they never even mention their name. They just say like, "Oh, the woman who was whatever, like Satoko's mother, or like like blah 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 blah." They never say their actual name. But I guess they have said Mion's mother's name, or they're specifically not mentioned her name, but they've also said that she's been banished from the clan, and I don't know, something about that to me. Just meant that she's going to be coming back. Oh, I just remember there's some village festival called Watanagashi or something the day after tomorrow on Sunday.
ひなみ沢の守り神、お社様に感謝するため、古い布団を積み重ねて供養する、そんなお祭りでしたっけ？
Okay, wait, I just realized. During the first chapter, maybe Takano and Tomitake didn't sneak into the thing because then otherwise Rika and, was it Kimiyoshi would have, not disappeared, or I guess not been murdered, right?
あら、ご名答。前原くん、引っ越してきたばかりにしては博識ね。そう。お社様に感謝するためのお祭り。
Takano-san smiled somehow meaningfully, but didn't tell me what part of a festival to thank Oyashiro-sama needed to be laughed
やれや
at.
れ。高野さんは。でも、どうだろうね、今年は。
二度あることは三度ある。
Wait, it happened twice? Didn't it happen 3 times at this point? Or 4
そ
times?
してもう四度あったの
Okay,
よ。
yeah, 4 times.
5度目がないと言える方が何の根拠もないと思うけれど。
I knew what they meant by their whispered exchange. On the day of the Watanagashi, a freak death always occurs, which people call Oyashiro-sama's curse, and a disappearance occurs that people call being demoned away. Unikakushid. Strange events happened 4 years running, and Watanagashi, rapidly approaching the day after tomorrow, marked the 5th.
村の旧敵にたたりをなすお社様か。
Enemies of the village. So why would these two be enemies of the village? Because they have died twice now.
今年もあるとして、果たしてその矛を受けるのは誰になるだろうね。あ、僕はここに来るたびにちゃんとお参りしてお賽銭を入れてる。僕じゃないことは確かだよ。
あらそう。
It won't be me, for sure. I like how they did that knowing that he's already died twice.
近年のお社様は異邦人には特に厳しいって話よ。引っ越してきたばかりとはいえ、前原くんはちゃんとひなみ沢に住んでる村人だけど、二郎さんは毎年来るだけのただのよそ者。さーて、今年は見逃してもらえるかしら。
ひどいな。
Tomitake-san was the only one with a pained grin, but we were all smiling me included. Where's Shiro-sama, the one who used the curse to kill people involved with the damn construction project? One after the next. He killed the damn construction manager, he killed Satoko's parents for supporting it, and the next year he even killed her aunt. If the demoning away was part of that curse, you can add Satoshi to the list of victims. As I thought about it, I realized that in the serial freak deaths incidents, the overwhelming majority had the last name Hojo. Oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. That half of them were Satoko's family. Half the deaths and disappearance had come from the Hojo family. The Hojo family lived here in Hinamizawa. Did that mean Oyashiro-sama punished and cursed them particularly harshly because despite that, they'd been in favor of the dam?
サトコのおじが帰ってきたって話は聞いてますか？
Takano-san, who'd been enjoying a few words with Tomitake-san, was caught unaware by my sudden inquiry.
あ、ごめんなさい。今なんて？
いえ、サトコの両親がたたり殺されて、おばもたたり殺されて。だったら順番的には、次はおじの番かなって思ったんです。去年のたたりで、おばが無残な死に方をし、それに恐れをなして町に逃げていたやつですよ。お社様は確か、村を捨てて逃げ出そうとするのは許さなかったですよね。
I hadn't intended to be quite this persistent, but those words, they just flowed out of my mouth without me thinking about it. Right. Oyashiro-sama's curse. I didn't believe in something so unrealistic, of course, but the fact was that every year, unfortunate accidents and incidents happened to enemies of the village. Like Takano-san said just now, it had happened 4 times. No one could say there wouldn't be a 5th.
面白い説ね。確かに過去の犠牲者を見れば北条姓が多いのは事実。
So he just assumed they knew who Satoko was?
その延長として考えれば、今年はおじが死ぬか消えるかする可能性は
So I don't understand.
否めないわね。
Why did he come back this time, but he didn't come back the other times, right? The thing that changed was the wife dying, or the person dying at the beginning.
Of whatever, right? It was the person dying. But why did she die this time and not the other times?
もう、高野さんは、起こるかもしれない不幸を笑うのは良くないよ。
ごめんなさいね。
The person who died at the very beginning, like the his affair lover. She died at the beginning of this of chapter 3, and that's why he came back to Mizawa after she died. But why did she not die the other 2 chapters? That's what I'm like. Why did I can't remember what the beginning of chapter 2 was like, but I remember the beginning of chapter 1 started out with like, oh, she was my first love, but what is it? Why is she doing this? Why is she killing me? Like it was something like that. That's what I remember chapter 1 was.
でも、お社様のたたりは私の
It
ライフワ
looked
ー
like
クです。
Urena, but I don't think it's her. It's so obvious. Bwahahahaha. Is it obvious, Diana? Takano-san gave off mysterious, somehow intellectual impression, and her life's work was mysterious in its own right. Like, that's the thing. Usually the events at the beginning of... Like, the thing I just don't understand... To me, right now, the thing I'm confused about is if this is all one fluid timeline, right? One straight timeline, or if it goes back to the beginning. And that's the thing for me that I'm so confused about. Because if I knew if it was one or the other... That's when I could probably start theorizing stuff. But because I just don't know that, if it's one timeline, one straight timeline, or like things are going back to the beginning and resetting, like I don't like. That's what I just don't get. She probably really liked inexplicable supernatural phenomena or something.
高野さんは、お社様のたたりに詳しそうですね。どうでしょう。
How could it be one straight timeline? I don't know. Maybe a god comes in, right? And plays the events from, like, maybe the events of chapter 1 did happen, right? Okay, what I mean by straight timeline. Maybe the events of chapter 1 did happen, right? And then it gets reset. Or the chapter 1 events didn't happen, and it's because the choices someone made. Okay. Let me draw this out. Let me draw this out so this makes sense. I'm gonna do what that one person said, or what he said that one streamer did, and pull out the paint, right? So it's like chapter 1, right? And then like something happens in between, right? Something happens in between. And then chapter 2. And then something happens in between. Right? And then chapter 3. And then so on. Right? That's one way. Or it could be this. Okay, let me actually do the same colors. This. Actually, no, wait. It'll be like, start like this, right? Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. That's what I mean. I don't know how it's like. These are the two things that I'm not sure how it's like yet. What exactly does that change between? It means that this stuff did happen, whereas this stuff didn't happen. That's what that changes. That's what I mean. You're still being shown the same information. But let's say we get... Okay, this is what I mean. If we get to chapter 8 here, right? Let's say this is over here. If we get to chapter 8 over here, right? Then Cage, like, we're able to view our past lives or whatever. But if like chapter 8 is like the correct option here, right? Chapter 8 is the correct option here. That means none of this ever happened. And that means that what happens in these chapters, right? What happens in these chapters affects this one. But in here, nothing affects chapter 8. That's why it matters. You're still being shown the same information, but whether this affects the outcome, or this doesn't affect the outcome, changes. That's why it matters.
Hojoの帰ってきたおじがタタリに会う可能性は。
あら、何？
So the thing that I'm confused about right now is if chapter 1, 2, like you're still being shown the same information, but on the right,
そのおじさんを殺したくて仕方がないみたいね。
yeah, so the reason it matters is because that means this will... Okay, why it matters is because that means either chapter 1 to 7 affects everything up to chapter 8, or it doesn't affect chapter 8, and the choices that were made led to a different ending. That is why it's important to know the distinction. And until I know that distinction, I cannot start theorizing.
そんなんじゃないです。
どうだろうね。神様の気まぐれ次第だからね。
前原くん、サンタクロースの正体は知ってる？
I got a strange question all of a sudden, and I couldn't immediately answer. What?
何知らない
Why?
の
Okay, why is this pose here?
パパよ。みんなの家のパパ。
なんだ、そういう意味ですか。そりゃそうですよ。どんなものの正体だって、最終的には人間です。だってここは人間しかいない世界なんですから。
Okay, Keiichi, you're just contradicting yourself here.
すべての現象は人間で解明できるはずです。
I felt like I put that somewhat strangely, but Takano-san was not as dissatisfied with that reply as I might have guessed.
あら、その年齢のうちからそれに気づけるなんてなかなかね。その通りよ。人間の世で起こる現象は、すべて人間の都合で人間が起こす。では前原くん、もう一度尋ねるわよ。今度はサンタクロースじゃなくて、お社様。お社様のたたりの正体は、何
Is she
かわか
gonna
る
go on
か
her
しら
spiel again like last time? Takano-san took a step towards me and gazed into my eyes as she asked. Santa Claus was really the parents of every family's children. If lionizing that legend was a corporate tact to try and profit during Christmas sales, then what was Oyashiro-sama really?
あら、あなたが言ったのよ。ここは人間しかいない世界だって。すべての現象は人間で解明できるって。
圭一君、ここだけの話だよ。高野さんはね、お社様のたたりをめぐる一連の連続開始事件をね、
Oh, they're just saying
南
it?
沢の村人が何かの儀式に基づいて行っている人為的殺人事件でない
Okay, no,
ことを
'cause
見ているんだよ。
Last time, Oishi-san... Oh my gosh, why does my teeth hurt so much?
誤解しないでね。私はそれに至る教義や思想、文化を民族学的見地から研究す
Go
る
for a
ことが
moment.
ライフワークなの。
Just wait, give me a second. Sorry about that.
別に犯人が誰かなんてことには全く興味がないのよ。そこだけ勘違いしないでちょうだいね。
I could only tell that she was saying some crazy stuff. Use a food analogy like you'd force feed a duck to be fattened. She forced her words down. Okay, Keiichi? That's a bit much, don't you think? Jeez, that's an aggressive analogy.
そもそもそれを理解するためには、ひなみ沢村が鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれていた古代にまで遡らなければならない。鬼と血を交わらせたと信じる犯人犯気の仙人たちが。
Takano-san, having entered her home field, leaned forward and began to speak of ridiculous matters. Tomitake-san realized she was overawing me and interrupted for me.
高野さん。その話をいきなり圭一君にしても。ほら、彼も面食らってるよ。
あら、そう？続きに興味があったらいつでも言ってね。前原くんくらいの年頃の男の子が好きそうな猟奇的なお話がてんこ盛りなんだから。
Okay.
ありがとうございます。気が向いたらそのうちに。
For now, I softly and safely gave my refusal. Yeah, Takano's chill.
Takano-san seemed a little unhappy that Tomitake-san had rained on her parade, but she stopped talking about it then. Even so, it was a very interesting story. That Oyashiro-sama's curse, which we thought of as strange freak deaths, was really homicides, perpetrated by people of the village.
まあ常識的に考えればそうですよね。たたりなんかで 人が死ぬはずない。誰かがタタリになぞらえて殺してるに決まってます。
そうね、それが誰なのかは研究しない方が無難ね。
But didn't she fit, like, judging from the journal we saw last time in the tips in chapter 2, didn't she know who it was? Maybe she just doesn't want to tell Keiichi. Maybe she knows that Mion is, or Keiichi's Mion's friend, but I don't know.
高野さんは知ってそうですね。
You shouldn't judge people. I'm not judging anyone. Okay? I'm not judging anyone, actually. I'm judging by her book that she wrote. That's not her, that's the book.
証拠はないまでも確信を持
So
ってい
I'm
るくら
not
いに
judging
は
people, I'm judging a book.
あら、
Don't judge a
どうし
person
て
by
そう
their
思うの
book.
かしら。
A book that she wrote, but I'm not judging her. Like, the book is not a person. You shouldn't judge people. She wrote the book, but I'm not judging her. The book is not a person. I just kind of felt it vaguely. You're judging her writing. Okay, but that's different. Judging her writing is not judging a person. You shouldn't judge a book by what you read. So, okay, you shouldn't judge a book by what you read. So, what do you judge a book by? It didn't seem like her. It's cover. Oh, you're right. I need to look at the picture. And then I can decide how good the book is. Oh, you're so right. Wait, I didn't think about that one. It seemed like her extreme passion for this research would calm down just because these things were taboo, because it was safer and easier. But she's not a writer. She's a nurse. She just writes as a hobby. You're very judgmental. In which way? But aren't you guys okay? Aren't you guys judging me right now?
せっかく助けてあげたのに。
What about
ま
that?
たお社様のたたりの話が始まっちゃうよ。
Yours just can't be. When did I say because they're women? Okay? When did I say that?
涼しいうちに散策に行きたかったのにな。
I just said that she's not a writer because she's a nurse. When did woman come into this? Tomitake seemed a little disappointed to not be able to go on the date he planned since I'd brought up a weird topic. Misogyny will not be allowed in my stream. It's my stream. In fact, if I want now, okay, let's get this straight. I'm not wanting to do this, okay? I'm just making this for the sake of the argument. If I wanted to be misogynistic, I could do that. It's my stream. Not saying I would, but I'm just saying. Right now, there's something I wanted to ask, just for a little bit. That was about whether Satoko's uncle will be chosen for the curse this year. If he was, then another miracle would happen, just like last year. A terrible incident would happen again, but it would release Satoko from her unfortunate circumstances once more.
まあ、もちろん、おそらくあの辺りの人たちが関わってるんだろうな。
Twitch will ban you, be a kick streamer instead. Oh, you're so right. And then I could be a misogynistic gambler. Wait a second. Maybe I should do that.
鬼ヶ淵村の歴史を研究していれば、自然と至る必然的結末。
それは
How does gambling streams work out for people that like are not popular? Because I feel like you just go and stream and then start gambling and then you just lose money. And then you just never make back any money. Why did you clip that? What was this clip, man? Wait, why is it not? Oh, here, wait. Right there. Why'd you clip it like that? You didn't show. Now, okay, now you post it on Twitter, and now you're just like drama farm. That's what you said? Yeah, but you're not putting the context? Play the Sigma edit song.
Oh my gosh.
What would I do if I knew? Also show your notepad, leak the notepad? No, this was me on paint. Actually, don't. Yeah, I don't think we should leak the notepad. Yeah, you never know. How much did he have? Like, how many terabytes? I asked the question to the other me deep inside, but got no reply. Not as much as me.
ねえ
It's always terrible. Yeah. Let me see. Wait. Let me actually search it up. Yeah. He had. Don't search it up, please. He had 3+ terabytes. 3+ terabytes on Notepad. On Notepad. How do you have 3 terabytes on Notepad?
それを知ってどうするつもりかしら
Like, you know how much content that has to be to have it on Notepad?
別に。
知ったらあなたにも危険が降りかかるかもしれないわよ
Yeah.
5年目のたたりはあなただったりして
Yes, I do. 3 terabytes worth. Oh my gosh. Takano-san, toying with taboo, gave a devilish, satisfied smile, as though nothing in the world would be more amusing. She's probably trying to tease me, but I didn't feel like going along with her little game one bit.
偉そうな能書きでもったいぶってますが、高野さんだってよくは分かってないみたいじゃないですか。
I had felt a tinge of irritation at Takano's roundabout way of speaking, but these emotions escaped my mouth like water flowing through a strainer. Even I was surprised at how directly I'd spoken out about it, what I felt. Of course, I wasn't the only one taken aback.
あら言ってくれるわね坊やなのに挑発までできるの
The viewers are asking, by the way. We just play League of Legends. At some points, I'll, like, do, like, games with the... Speaking for the viewers, at some point I'll do games with others, but I don't know. I find... Like, I mean, I've said this before, right? But I find... Unless, like, you're collabing with another streamer... I mean, that's not necessarily true, right? I don't mind streaming with other people, but you should be... When streaming, you should be talking to chat, I feel. Right? And if other people are not streamers in the call you're with... it's very awkward because you're either muting over and over, right? Or it's like you're not muting and then it's just kind of awkward for everyone in call. That's why I find it weird to do collabs or just do it with like stream with others or whatever.
意外に野生的ね嫌いじゃないわよそういうの
Takano-san's tongue poked out of her mouth and I was convinced that it was long, thin, and split in the middle like a snake's.
ならいいわ
You know, guys, ops on like people who cut their tongue into 2 tongues.
教えてあげてもよくってよでも教えてあげる前に3つ誓ってもらうわ
It's chill.
私が何を
I
教え
think it
て
can
も
be
後悔しない
how do you say? Like, it is slightly strange, but it's like whatever. It can be what? The people who cut their tongues. Because it's like, I don't know how it works, but it's like you can cut your tongue, right? And split your tongue, and then you have like like, you know, you can control each tongue, each half individually. There are people who do that.
口外しない私が言ったなんて絶対言わない
I gulped firmly and nodded. Tomitake-san made an exaggerated expression of distress, gave a dry, vague smile, and lit a cigarette.
教えてください。タタリを下しているのは誰です。タタる相手を選んでいるのは誰なんです。
And after I said that, I finally realized why I wanted to know. Okay. Surely that's not the end there, right? There's more, right? Okay. Whoa, we're here? Okay, so I'm guessing she said about Mion. Many of my classmates were playing freely in the schoolyard. A few of them had just run out of the school building after putting on their shoes and tapping their toes to the ground. It looked like they had just finished eating lunch. From a time manipulating standpoint, I guess I succeeded.
前原さん、大丈夫なんですか？
A few girls noticed me and came running over. It was only natural they were worried. You'd think if someone wasn't there in the morning, they'd be out the rest of the day.
まあ、遅刻さ、気にしないでくれ。それより、さとこはどうだ？今日は来てるか？
The girls exchanged glances. I saw a thin shadow fall over the faces and knew the answer without needing to hear the reply. Satoko was absent today too. When all was said and done, after being out 3 days, she'd only come back for 1. And now she was out again. Who knew she would come tomorrow?
でも、さとこちゃんから電話があったって先生言ってました。風邪って言ってたよね。みんな家に帰ったらうがいをちゃんとしましょうって先生言
I
って
don't
ま
think
した。
that's true. Wait a minute, Chie-sensei? That's a little too thick-headed, don't you think? You're a teacher, aren't you? Why can't you be more sensitive and catch on to the fact that your pupil is sending out an SOS? But even if she did, there's nothing we could hope for. The most she could do was a home visitation. She didn't have any right to take Satoko from her uncle into safety. No matter the result, it would end up like the public agencies with a wait-and-see attitude. It would just piss Satoko's uncle off, and her suffering would only grow deeper. That wasn't saying anything. Saying she had a... Then wasn't saying she had a cold the best
そうだ
option?
な。みんなも風邪に気をつけろよ。もう行っていいぜ。昼休みはまだ長いぞ。
The girls excitedly scattered into the schoolyard.
ケイチくん
Anna was yelling out of the classroom window, waving her hand. A moment later, Mion and Rika-chan poked their head out too.
ケイチまでお休みしましたから、とても心配しましたのですよ。でもよかった。顔色もそんなに悪くないし、とりあえず元気そう。
I felt a little uncomfortable with her saying that I didn't look sick, but I didn't care that much.
どうしたの？寝坊？
遅刻は遅刻だろ。それとも、電車の事故で遅刻したとでも言えば、許してくれるのか？
寝坊？
Mion was being a bit persistent. Was she going to put on her club president cap and scold me for being late? Well, maybe she didn't have it in for me, so I briefly stated that she was right.
まだね、お弁当あるよ。みんなで食べよう。やっぱりね、ケイチくんがいないと盛り上がらないよね。
さとこは、休みなんだな。
Even Rena, feigning cheerfulness, couldn't stand to hear that, and her face darkened.
朝、電話があったらしいよ。風がぶり返したから、また休むってさ。長引くかもしれないって言ってた。かわいそうなので、みんなでお見舞いに行こうという話が出ていますのですよ。
何言ってんだよ、リカちゃん。
What? Not pleased with Rika-chan wearing a wide smile as though it was a happy occasion, I threw... What?!
さとこが風邪なんかじゃないことは、俺たちが一番知ってるだろ。たとえ冗談でも、二度とそういう白々しいことを言うな。次は怒るからな。
Rika-chan furrowed her brow, looked down, and mumbled an apology.
ケイチくんだけじゃないよ。みんな辛いよ。
俺だけが悩んでるなんて思ってない。でも、みんな何もできないのは本当だろ。
それはそうだけど。でも。
I got the feeling I'd cause another fight if this exchange went on, so I apologized
ごめん。
first.
謝るから、今の話は忘れてくれ。辛いのは、みんなも同じだよな。ああ。
It was at least clear, however, that I was the only one who had worried so much about rescuing her. At the very least, everyone else probably got the normal amount of sleep last night. Probably had good dreams too. They definitely hadn't stayed up all night thinking so desperately.
登校してきていきなりこんなこと聞いて気を悪くするかもしれないけど
Mion is so
ケイ
serious
ちゃ
here.
ん今日遅刻したよね。さとこが今日欠席したこととは関係ある？
は？ミオン、お前、何の話してるんだ？
ケイちゃんはたまにちょっとつ盲信なところがあるからね。今朝 さとこと一緒にケイちゃんも休んだ時、さとこを家から連れ出して、どこかにかくまったんじゃないかって本気で思った。
Easy for you to say. If I could have, I'd done that last night. Now that I had really thought about how difficult that clear as day solution was. I was up thinking all night, thinking until the night was brightening. And then, I concluded that I couldn't do anything of the
バ
sort.
カかお前。人間一人かくまうなんて、できるもんかよ。
そうだね。ごめん。気を悪くしたなら謝るよ。
別にいいよ。それより、飯にしようぜ。腹が減ってんだ。
I took my bento out of my bag. Everyone moved to make a spot for me to sit.
前原くん、今来たんですか？
As just as I was about to stick my chopsticks in, Chie-sensei came along.
はい。遅刻してすみません。寝坊しまして。
What the heck? Even the teacher was giving me that strange look.
お弁当を食べたら、院長と前原くんは職員室に来てく
So,
ださい。
him and me on
ちょっ
why?
とお話がありますので。
Probably about Satoko, I thought. Sensei left it at that and went back out into the hallway.
弁当を食うまでもないだろ。行こうぜ、ミオ。
そうだね。
Mion and I exchanged looks, nodded to each other, and got up.
さとこちゃんの話だろうね。
So why both of them, though? No doubt about it. They were saying she had a cold, but everyone else in class knew the truth. I didn't think that wouldn't have reached the teacher's ears by now.
僕がずっととぼけるので、僕に聞くのをやめたのでしょう。
Revealing the truth to the teacher would only worsen the situation. Is that why she hadn't said anything? Was it because she was Satoko's friend and knew that she was trying to endure the trial of her uncle's abuse in order to get her brother to come home?
どうする？今のうちに私たちなりの統一見解を出した方がいいかもね。
リカちゃんはどうしたい？
Satoko's closest and best friend was Rika-chan. However much I pretended to be her Nini, it didn't come close to the amount of time they'd spent together. So I felt like her opinion should be held in the highest regard.
俺は、サトコがどうしておじにいじめられてるのを耐えてるか知ってる。
Everyone looked startled and turned to me.
昔のサトコはいじめられると、きっと泣きながら兄の背中に隠れてた。でも結局、そのせいで兄が逃げてしまったんだと、サトコは思ってる。
誰に聞いたのかな？
監督か。
I nodded
サ
quietly.
トコは、おじのいじめに耐えれば、兄が帰ってくると信じることによって、今を耐え抜こうとしてるのかもしれない。でも、そんな思い込みとサトシが帰ってくるのは、全く無関係なことだ。サトコには悪いが、それが現実だ。
Everyone hung their heads. Everyone was thinking the same thing.
サトコは、多分誰の助けも喜ばない。自分一人の力で耐え忍びたいと思ってる。でも、それを尊重してやるのが、果たして正しいだろうか。俺は思わない。一時、サトコに恨まれることになろうと、サトコの意志に関わらず、助けるべき時があると思う。俺はそれが、今じゃないかと思ってる。
I told them all about what I saw and how I felt when I went to Satoko's house yesterday.
圭一くんは話すべきだと思ってるってことだね。
もちろん、公的機関への通報で、サトコが保護されるのが確定してからだ。その確認のないうちは、サトコをかえって危険にさらすこともあり得るからな。
難しいね。先生との会話の中で、その確約ってのが取れるわけ？
I had no confidence, but we had to try. Meanwhile, Rika-chan had her hand raised for a while as if asking for an opportunity to
圭
speak.
一に任せますです。
いいのかいリカちゃん。
圭一はここにいる誰よりもサトコのことを考えていますです。その圭一が話すべき時だと判断したなら、僕は文句なんか言わないのですよ。
ありがとう。ミオンもレナも、それでいいか？
Mion seemed to hesitate, not knowing if she should agree. But when she saw Rena's firm nod, she made up her mind and did the
よ
same.
し、行くぞ、ミオン。
Okay, they're gonna tell the teacher. Only Chie-sensei was in the teacher's lounge. We didn't see the principal anywhere. The schedule on the blackboard under the principal's name said training, going straight home. Our principal's sense of justice was too strong. Satoko's problems wouldn't be solved with something so vague. Maybe it was a stroke of good luck that he wasn't here. When the teacher saw Mina and I come in, she closed up her curry bento, saving the rest for later.
そこへおかけなさい。
He told us to take a seat in the chairs directly in front of the principal's seat. I hadn't sat in this chair since doing paperwork for transferring in. The two of us sat there, uncomfortably, before the teacher walked over carrying a notebook and ballpoint pen and sat in front of us.
前原くん、今日は午前中お休みでしたけど、何かありましたか？
すみません。寝坊です。
本当に？
先生に嘘言っても。
She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. Now I was sure of it. She wanted us to talk about
ま
Satoko.
ず、二人とも知ってると思いますけど、お友達の北条さんがここしばらくお休みしてますね。
Neither Mio nor I had anything to say in response, but the teacher proceeded, not minding.
何か知っていますか？クラスで良くない噂をしている人たちがいます。
Mio looked down and remained silent, as though she were being lectured. She sent me a quick glance. Everyone had made up their minds. They'd be leaving things to me.
委員長、前原くんも。先生は別に怒ってるんじゃありませんよ。もしも知っていたら、教えてほしいとお願いしているだけです。
先生、先にこっちから質問してもいいですか？
She must not have anticipated that response. She looked surprised.
クラス中で、聡子のどんな噂が飛び交ってるかは知りませんが、仮に、その噂が真実だったとして、先生はどうするつもりですか？
どうするもこうするも、その話が本当なら、放っておけません。
放っておけないって、具体的にはどう放っておけないんですか？
Sensei's eyebrows shot up. Maybe I said it like I was trying to pick a
前
fight.
原くん、先生は真面目にお話ししてるんですよ。
先生こそ、俺はすごく真面目な話をしているんです。まず答えてください。真実だったとして、どう放っておけないんです？
Sensei took a few breaths and then began to speak slowly.
まず、状況を確かめるために、北条さんの家を家庭訪問します。
おじに怒鳴りつけられて追い返されるかもしれませんね。まあいいや。仮におじと聡子に会えたとします。それで？
そして、真意を聞きます。その事実が確認できたなら、指導します。
指導って曖昧な言い方はやめてください。具体的には何をするんですか？
Even despite my tone being so provocative, Chie-sensei bit back her emotions and listened calmly. I thought then that she was a good teacher. Chie-sensei really did have her students' best interests at heart, but she didn't have the power or authority to save Satoko. If she let her sense of justice run away with her, the situation could get more complex. Sensei folded her arms, and for a few moments she closed her eyes as though merely mentally concentrating. When they opened again, there was a strictness in her eyes I'd never seen before.
児童福祉法という法律があります。この法律で、児童に対する虐待は何人に対しても認められていないことが明記されています。
らしいですね。それで？
沖宮の生活相談所へ通報します。さっき、前原くんは追い返されると言いましたね。この相談所の職員は、必要に応じて警察官を同行させることができます。恫喝には絶対に屈しません。
その福祉士というお役所の人は、連絡して書類で申請して、何日後に助けに来てくれるんです？
即日です。彼らの仕事は、児童の安全を緊急に保護することですから。
知ってますよ。緊急性があると判断された場合ですよね。認められなかったら、先生と同じ、指導をして、様子見をするんですよね。見てるだけ。聡子のおじの機嫌を悪くして、聡子をその場に残したまま、それっきり。
ケイちゃん、ちょっと言い過ぎ。
嘘はついてないだろ。
I don't know why the audio just changes random
去年
points.
だか一昨年だかに児童相談所が来た時がまさにそうだったんだろう。その結果どうなった？俺よりもミオや先生の方がよっぽどよく知ってるだろうが。
I said too much. I didn't need Mion to tell me that. I was talking crazy and itching for a fight. I was supposed to be telling her about the situation only after I was sure we could save Satoko, but I basically told her everything right in front from the start. Chie-sensei looked at the clock, stood up, and picked up the phone at the principal's
も
seat.
しもし、内線の3455をお願いします。
いいの？ケイちゃん、本当に大丈夫かな？
It was too late. The die had been cast. Now we could only...
お世話になっております。ひなみ沢文庫教諭の千恵と申しますが、指導室の渡辺主事はいらっしゃいますでしょうか？ はい、ええ。
What do you want me to read? Nippa, 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 meep, meep, nippa. How? I want to take you home. Oh, nippa, nippa. How? I hope you're happy with that, Diana.
ちょっと急用がございまして、至急校長と連絡が取りたいのですが、はい、お願いします。緊急とお伝えください。よろしくお願いします。
The teacher put down the phone and tilted her head back and took a breath, like I always did.
二人にもう一度だけ聞きます。クラスのみんなの噂は、すべて本当なんですね。
はい。俺は昨日、聡子の家に行って、実際にどういうことになっているのか見ました。
あとは、先生に任せてください。
Hey?
聡子ちゃんは、きっと先生が何とかします。
Let's see.
なんとか？いい加減なことを言わないでください。なんとかじゃない。絶対でなければならない。もしもまた様子見なんてことになったら、
I don't know.
どう責任を取るつもりですか？
That sounded so realistic for a second. I thought it was like my phone, but my phone doesn't. I don't have a landline or anything. While I was yelling, the phone rang. Chie-sensei snatched the receiver up first.
もしもし。研修中申し訳ありません。はい。実は、例の北条聡子さんの件でお話が。はい。
Sensei waved us away, telling us we could leave now. Mion went to leave, but I held my ground. I had a responsibility to make sure she stopped saying such vague, ambiguous things. If it didn't look like she was going to say anything substantial, then I'd tell them the truth, even if I had to steal the phone from her.
いえ、まだ相談所には、はい。まだ確認はしていませんが、クラスのこの話では相当な様子です。
相当なんてもんじゃないぞ。すぐにだ。今すぐ何とかしろ。通報するならどこへだっていい。でもな、もしも様子見なんてことになってみろ。ただじゃ済まさないからな。
I yelled angrily at Sensei and the principal on the other end. I wanted to somehow, some way convey to them just how dangerous her situation was right now.
それは分かっています。ちゃんと伝えますから。委員長、前原くんを連れて教室に戻りなさい。
はい。行くよ、ケイちゃん。あとは先生たちに任せよ。
絶対だぞ。
Until the very last moment, I glared at Sensei. Chie-sensei was feeling pressured by the likes of me. Idiot. This isn't the time to feel pressured. Now's the time when you give me a firm nod to reassure me. Even so, we've already left things in our hands. At this point, we can't really do anything but pray. Bang. Now shut the door to the teacher's lounge. Okay. We have set things in motion. I'm glad. It was like pretty quick. I really thought we were going to have to sit here and wait. It was very, very quick things happened. But I wonder what, like, this feels like something big is going to happen. This really feels like something big is going to happen. Like, this is the day before the Watanagashi, right? Like, or what's coming up is the day before the Watanagashi. Hello, Berserk. All right, let me see your what joke we have here. What kind of cats? Oh wait, no, I've said this. How did the cat keep his grass trimmed with a lawn meower? Sorry, I messed up the joke. With a lawn meower. All right. Let's read through these tips here. View new tips. Article, statistics from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Okay. Article 2, definition of child abuse. The term child abuse means the following acts committed by a custodian, meaning a person who exercises parental authority, a guardian of minor, or other person who is currently engaged in the custody of a child. Hereinafter, the same shall apply. Against a child, meaning a person who is under 18 years of age, hereinafter the same shall apply. 1. Assault the child in a manner that will cause or is likely to cause external injury on the body of a child. 2. Engage in indecency against the child or cause the child to engage in indecency. 3. substantially reduce the amount of food for the child or abandon and neglect the child for a long period of time in a manner that may interfere with normal development of the child mentally or physically, or otherwise materially fail to perform the duty of a custodian. Or 4. Speak or behave in a manner that would be significantly traumatic to the child. Article 3. Prohibition of child abuse. No person shall abuse a child. Act number 82 of 2000. Authorized by the Minister of Health and Welfare. Okay. Statistics from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Year 19. Principal abusers in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 3,552. Mother by blood. Wait, what? Or 2,943, 55%. Mother not by blood, 203. Father by blood. Oh, okay. Oh, the main abusers. Mother is the most abused. Father not by blood, or the one that abuses the most. Instances of types of abuse in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Physical abuse. Okay. Neglect, abandonment of child, 32%. Psychological abuse. This is hard to prove, I think. 458 is good, but I think this is hard to prove. Forbidden from going to school. Oh, they do have forbidden from going to school as one of them. We were talking about this earlier. Sexual violence, 311. Okay. Very interesting. I'm hoping tomorrow we'll be able to get through 2 chapters. Or 2 segments, so actually maybe not, because it is the day before the Watanagashi and the actual Watanagashi. So it's gonna be very, very long. So maybe not, but we'll see. For now, I will leave it here for today. But maybe I will. We'll see. It depends on how good I feel about it. But yeah. I'll be heading out. Thank you for everyone who stopped by the stream. I appreciate it. And I'll be back with more Higurashi when they cry.